It's hard to believe, but this is going to be the final power rankings for the month of November. A week today, we'll start December, and then that means we're just over a month away from the OHL trade deadline, which is set for January the 10th. It's a Friday this year, and I do plan to host another live stream like I did last year, so stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, let's take a look at the power rankings because there has been some change, and it starts at the bottom because the Guelph Storm, they're at number 20. They fell 3 positions this week. And they went on a 2-game road trip into Northern Ontario and went 0-2, losses in North Bay and Sudbury. Guelph, they have now lost 3 in a row after it looked like this team had kind of figured things out offensively, but now back to trying to find the back of the net. But despite the recent struggles, Cam Allen on the blue line, he's been playing well, nearly a point a game this season. He also had a goal and 2 assists in the loss in North Bay. So there are still some positives with this Guelph Storm team. They just need to get back into the win column as they find themselves right now at the bottom of the Western Conference standings. Coming up this week, Thursday night, they will be in Niagara. Friday, they're home to Windsor. And then Sunday, they host the Kitchener Rangers. So 3 very tough opponents coming up this weekend. At number 19, the Peterborough Petes. They are up 1 position. And this is the first time in 8 weeks that Peterborough is not ranked 20th in the power rankings. Peterborough, of course, snapping their 6-game losing streak Saturday with a 4-1 win over the North Bay Battalion. And yes, it's only their 2nd win of the season, but you have to take these steps forward as an organization. And already playing without Zach Bowen in net, who suffered that injury, there were some question marks about goaltending. Can Easton Rye get the job done? Well, he answered that question with the 42-save performance for the victory against North Bay. So good signs there for the Petes. Hopefully this is a sign that the Maroon and White can string together some wins. It won't be easy. They do have a tough schedule coming up. Thursday night, they're home to the London Knights. Friday, they travel to Ottawa. And then on Sunday, they're home to Niagara. At number 18, the Flint Firebirds, they fell 2 positions this week, and it was a rough week for Flint. They lost 8-1 to Saginaw and then saw a 2-goal lead evaporate in a 3-2 loss to the Barrie Colts. So specialty teams, that seems to be the area that's holding back Flint. They're just 12% on the power play this season, which is 19th in the OHL, and their penalty kill also ranked 19th overall at 73%. So if this Firebirds team is going to turn it around, specialty teams, it might be an area to look at. Now, coming up this week, they're home to Sarnia on Wednesday, so that's a big West Division matchup. Friday, they're in Niagara, and then Saturday in Eerie. At number 17, we have the Owen Sound Attack, who are up 1 position this week. Owen Sound, they may have lost both games last week, but did they ever put in a solid effort? They lost in a shootout against the London Knights on the road after being up 3-1 midway through the 3rd, but still getting a point against London. That's a big deal for this Owen Sound Attack team. And then Saturday, Colby Barlow, their former captain, returned to the Bay Shore as a member of the Oshawa Generals. It was a penalty-filled game. A lot of emotions in that one, but it ended up being Oshawa with the 1-goal win. But really, as long as the Owen Sound Attack put in an honest effort game in, game out, they will continue to be in these games. We don't usually see Owen Sound blown out this season, which is a great sign for this team going forward. They are still near the bottom of the Western Conference standings, but I do see this as a positive as the Attack look towards the future. Coming up, they do have 3 games. They start Wednesday night in Eerie. Friday, they're in Kitchener. And then Saturday, they're home to the Windsor Spitfires. So 3 of the top teams right now in the Western Conference standings. So it's not going to be easy coming up here for Owen Sound. At number 16, the North Bay Battalion. They dropped 1 position this week. For North Bay, they started with a come-from-behind win against the Guelph Storm, but then followed it up with back-to-back losses against Peterborough and Kingston. And they only managed 2 goals in those 2 road games, so the offense not there right now. And as this season goes on, I think a rebuild is very likely for the North Bay Battalion. Obviously, Anthony Romani still out of the lineup due to injury, but really, I think this team, they're going to be looking to the future as we approach the trade deadline. But the future does look bright. Look at Shamar Moses, who they acquired from the Barrie Colts. He now has 21 points in 18 games since the trade. So I think if you're a North Bay fan, the future is bright. Look for this team to contend again in the next couple of years. But for the rest of this season, it's going to be a lot of growing pains, I feel. But Shamar Moses, I think, was a piece that a lot of Barrie Colt fans were sad to see go. I know for Barrie, they're looking to go for a deep playoff run this year, and Dallin Wakely has fit in quite nicely. But in a couple of seasons, look out for Shamar Moses. I think he's going to be in for some big things with this North Bay club. Now, coming up this week for the Battalion, just 2 games, both on the road in Sault Ste. Marie. They're going to play Friday night at GFL Memorial Gardens and again Saturday night. At number 15, the Sarnia Sting. They're up 4 positions this week, and the Sting, they're the biggest mover, and that's in part with their 1-1 record last week, and teams around them kind of struggling of late. So taking advantage of some teams on losing streaks and getting that big win in their shootout against Ottawa, moving them up 4 spots in the power rankings. So you have to give them the credit. That 5-4 win against Ottawa was pretty good. It may have been a shootout, but seeing a guy like Alessandro Diorio have a great game, a goal, 2 assists, 3 points, and also Tyson Doucette, a goal and an assist for 2 points. Some good positives here, something to build on for the Sarnia Sting going forward. Obviously, it was a tough loss against the Barrie Colts, but Beckham Edwards, 2 goals in that game. Maybe Rookie of the Year candidate right now between him and Ethan Belchis of the Windsor Spitfires. I really like Beckham Edwards' play, and definitely fun to follow and a key player for this core going forward for the Sting. Now, coming up this week, they're in Flint Wednesday night. Friday, they're home to Brampton. And then on Sunday, they host the Sagen Spirit. At number 14, we have the Brantford Bulldogs, who fell 1 position. For Brantford, they look sharp in their Alexander's throwback jerseys. I got to say, I watched some of those games just because I wanted to see those uniforms out on the ice. I also like how the pants look like they're wearing Cooper rolls. Obviously, it's the white stripe on the shorts and the socks that made it look like they're wearing the pants, but great touch. They look great. They got the win against Oshawa in a shootout, while Kingston kind of had their way against the Bulldogs on Saturday. But Nick Lardis, he is a scoring machine right now, 23 goals on the season. That actually ties him with Saginaw's Michael Misa for the league lead. And he's also riding a 10-game point streak. So Nick Lardis continues to get the job done for Brantford. Now, coming up this week, a pair of road games. Friday night, they will be in Oshawa, and then Saturday, they come up to Barrie. At number 13, it's the Brampton Steelheads, who are up 1 position. The loss in Eerie was a tough way to start the week, but then they pulled off back-to-back wins against Niagara and the Soo. And for the Steelheads, they're now back above the playoff line in the Eastern Conference, but it's by 1 point over the Ottawa 67, so they can't let up right now. They got to keep going. They did acquire Chase Lefebvre from the Peterborough Petes on Friday, and that fills their 3 overage spots. So that was a big question mark for Brampton as the season went on. Who would they look to add as an overager? And Lefebvre bringing some of that sandpaper. He got in a fight in the game against the Soo Greyhounds, but no points in his 2 games against Niagara and the Soo. Coming up for Brampton, they will be in Sarnia on Friday, and then Saturday they visit the Saginaw Spirit. At number 12, the Ottawa 67s, no change from last week. It was a very tough 3-3 for Ottawa, where they went 0-1-2, so 2 out of a possible 6 points. I don't usually penalize teams in the power rankings if they go to a shootout and end up losing. That's what happened in 2 of the games against Sarnia and London. But you have to give credit to Ottawa getting the point on the road against the London Knights. Jaden Nelson looked great in net, posting 27 saves to keep the team in it. Will Giroir, he guaranteed the point with a goal in the 3rd period. So Ottawa getting some points here, but now below the playoff line. So we'll see how this goes. If you look at the Eastern Conference standings right now, it is very tight between 7th and 9th, because you have Brampton, Brantford, North Bay, and Ottawa within a point of each other right now. So it's a great race. I know we're not at the halfway point of the regular season, but still, it's fascinating just to look at the standings periodically as to how things are shaping up. Now, coming up for Ottawa, they're home to Peterborough on Friday, and then they host the London Knights on Sunday. At number 11, we have the Niagara Ice Dogs, who fell 1 position, and it was a challenging 3-3 for Niagara, but they did earn a 3 out of a possible 6 points. It didn't really seem like the Greyhounds were ready to start last week, but Niagara, they took advantage, winning 7-2, and that was, of course, without Kevin He serving the final game of his 3-game suspension. But what a great game. Mike Levin and Andre Loshko both recording hat tricks. So some good signs here for Niagara as they look to keep pace with Barrie in the Central Division. Coming up this week for the Ice Dogs, they're home to Guelph on Thursday. Friday, they're home to Flint. And then on Sunday, they travel to Peterborough. At number 10, the Sudbury Wolves, they fell 1 position this week. And for Sudbury, they're only down 1 spot in the power rankings because they were passed. Honestly, Sudbury looked really good in their 3-3, going 2-1. They ended the week with a 4-2 loss against the Oshawa Generals, but they battled hard in that one on the road. So the Wolves, I do feel they deserve some credit. They are playing well. They're 5-2-3 over their last 10 games. So just 2 regulation losses over the last 10. So a good sign here for Sudbury going forward. Now coming up, just 2 games, but it's a crucial home and home series against the Barrie Colts. It starts Thursday at the Saddleland Arena, and then Friday they come back to the Sudbury Community Arena to take on the Barrie Colts. So big rivalry matchup coming up this weekend between the Colts and the Wolves. At number 9, the Soo Greyhounds falling 4 positions. It was an ugly road trip for the Soo Greyhounds, 0-3, and they gave up more than 6 goals in each of those 3 games. Now, Sault Ste. Marie, they've seen the most movement on the power rankings. It's just that consistency has been a bit of a problem. At times, they look really good, and then stretches like this, you scratch your head wondering what's going on with the Greyhounds. So with how they're playing right now, I kind of thought maybe the games would have been much closer, but they just didn't seem ready when the road trip got underway in Niagara. So coming up, just 2 home games. Both of them are against North Bay on Friday and Saturday. At number 8, the Kingston Frontenacs. They are up 3 positions this week, and what a big week it was for Kingston. They went 3-0 and are now 8-2 over their last 10 games. So are the Kingston Frontenacs for real? That's the question that's starting to gain some momentum. And the Frontenacs, they lead the East Division by 2 points over the Oshawa Generals. And I've talked a lot about the play of Jacob Battaglia, but Thomas Urinen, what a good week he had. He's been playing well of late. 3 goals, 2 assists over his last 5 games, including 2 in the win against North Bay. So I really like how this Kingston's team looks. We'll see if they can keep this momentum, because that East Division, it's going to get more challenging as the season goes on. You know, Oshawa is going to add. You have to expect Brantford's going to look to add as well. So those could be your top 3 teams battling for top spot in the division: Kingston, Oshawa, and Brantford. But if you're a Kingston fan, you must be really excited about how this Frontenacs team's been playing of late. But they do have 2 big games this weekend. Friday, they're home to the London Knights. And then on Sunday, they travel to Oshawa for another matchup against their division rival, the Generals. So those 2 games could go a long way in the power rankings for Kingston and also in the Eastern Conference standings. At number 7, we have the Saginaw Spirit. They went up 1 position this week. It was a decent week for Saginaw. They went 1-1. They cruised to an 8-1 victory over the Flint Firebirds and then nearly overcame a 4-goal deficit late in a 6-5 loss to London. As this Saginaw team, they can score at will. They're the highest scoring team in the Ontario Hockey League, and Joey Willis had another hat trick in the loss to London. That's now 13 goals in 5 games for Joey Willis. And he's now quickly climbing the race for the scoring lead with 16 goals on the season. So Joey Willis, he has been so much fun to watch right now with the Saginaw Spirit. Michael Misa, he still leads the league in goal scoring and points, but look out for Joey Willis. He's been, I don't want to say it's a pleasant surprise, but I think a lot of people were focused on Misa and Parek, and then Joey Willis comes along, putting up 13 goals in 5 games. Just unreal. Now, coming up for Saginaw, they will be in Windsor on Wednesday. Saturday, they're home to Brampton. And then on Sunday, they visit the Sarnia Sting. At number 6, the Eerie Otters, they fell 2 positions. Eerie, they kind of bounced around the power rankings near the top, because every night I adjust the power rankings based on the results and how teams played. And at one point, I had Eerie as high as 2nd in my power rankings last week. And that was after posting a 7-4 win against Brampton and a 6-3 win over the Sioux. But then they were shut out 4-0 by Kitchener. So when the dust settled, they're sitting in 6th. But right now, you could say the top 6 teams in this power rankings are all serious threats for the OHL championship. Very strong contenders right now with the way they're playing. Obviously, that's going to change between now and the playoffs. But still, the Otters, they have great depth. Matthew Schaefer, he's the top prospect, of course, for the 2025 NHL draft. He had 2 goals, 1 assist last week for Eerie. Sam Alfano, 3 goals, 3 assists. Pano Femus, 2 goals, 4 assists. And Malcolm Spence, 2 goals, 3 assists. So I really like the depth of this Eerie team. Right now, sitting 6th in the power rankings, but they're knocking on the door. I think this team will sit first in the power rankings at some point during the regular season. It could be sooner rather than later. We'll have to wait and see. But coming up this week, Wednesday, they're home to Owen Sound. And then Saturday, they host Flint. At number 5, it's the Barrie Colts, who are up 2 positions. It's been a steady climb for the Barrie Colts in the power rankings. Some might say the climb's been a little too slow, but they're now a top 5 team in my power rankings. And the Colts, 2-1 last week. It was a close game in that loss to the Windsor Spitfires at the WFCU Center. What a battle that was as the Colts tried to climb back into that one. But of course, Windsor winning that one by a single goal. But then after that, the Colts would win in Flint and Sarnia. And if you look at the stats, the Barrie Colts have given up the fewest goals this season with 60, which says a lot about the defense and the goaltending because both Windsor and Kitchener, they're tied for second fewest goals against with 67. So a bit of a gap there, but still exciting to see where this Colts team goes moving forward. And this week, they're home to Sudbury on Thursday, travel to Sudbury Friday, and then host Brantford on Saturday. At number 4, we have the Kitchener Rangers, who are down 2 positions this week. It was a little concerning with Kitchener last week. They lost back-to-back games by scores of 3-1 to London and Windsor, who are 2 of the top teams in the Western Conference, but then shut out the Eerie Otters 4-0, which I was a little surprised by. But Jackson Parsons, solid goaltender, one of the top goaltenders in the OHLs this season. He has now earned 3 shutouts this year and 7 on his OHL career. So well done by Jackson Parsons. And for Kitchener going forward, 2 teams that have been struggling this year. So we'll see if this can build a little bit of a winning streak coming up, because Friday they're home to Owen Sound, and then Sunday they visit the Guelph Storm. At number 3, we have the Oshawa Generals, who are up 3 positions. Oshawa managed a possible 5 out of 6 points, going 2-0-1. They were nearly perfect if it wasn't for Brantford scoring 3 unanswered goals in the third period to come back to force overtime and ultimately a shootout where the Bulldogs would win. But you can't win them all, but they still got a point, which is crucial as they try to catch up to the Kingston Frontenacs, who lead that East Division right now. It was also a pretty emotional game up in Owen Sound as Colby Barlow returned to the Bayshore for the first time since the trade. He also earned a goal in that game. So for Barlow, he's scoring now. He's getting the points. He had that slow start after coming over from Owen Sound, but now I think getting past this emotional game is kind of ending that chapter, and expect Barlow now to, I wouldn't be surprised if he starts to put on a string of points here now that he can, that game is now off the schedule. Now coming up for Oshawa, they're home to Brantford Friday, and then Sunday they host Kingston. So some big divisional games coming up here for Oshawa. At number 2, we have the Windsor Spitfires. They are up 1 position this week, and it was a challenging trip through Northern Ontario where it seemed as though Windsor's offense was kind of slipping a bit. The goals against was starting to creep up, but then they earned wins against Barrie, Kitchener, and Ottawa. What a week it was for the Spitfires. Liam Greentree, he's heating up right now. 3 goals, 1 assist over his last 2 games. Currently sits 5th in the league in scoring with 37 points. So Windsor looking pretty good right now. Well, they're still knocking on that doorstep for top spot in the power rankings, but a team looking really good right now in the Western Conference. Coming up this week for Windsor, they are home to Saginaw on Wednesday. Friday, they travel to Guelph, and Saturday, they visit the Owen Sound Attack. So that leaves us with number 1, and no change. It's the London Knights for the 3rd week in a row. And London right now riding a 15-game winning streak, but their last 4 wins have been the close scores. They played 4 games last week, and they had to come back and win in a shootout against Owen Sound. They had a 6-2 lead in the third period against Saginaw, but the Spirit pushed that one. London would hold on, of course, for the 6-5 victory, but then needed a shootout against the Ottawa 67s and a 2-1 victory. So they find ways to win, and that's the most important part for this London Knights team as they continue to string points and wins together. And Sam Dickinson, he has been a standout for this London Knights team. He had 6 points in the win against Saginaw. So he has been fantastic for London all year long since coming back from the San Jose Sharks. And right now, Dickinson, 3rd in league scoring with 38 points. So unreal. We'll have to wait and see how much longer this win streak goes, because they're going through the East Division this weekend for a road trip. It starts Thursday in Peterborough, Friday they're in Kingston, and then Sunday they're in Ottawa. So that's the power rankings for this week. Let me know in the comments section down below your thoughts. Who are surprising you right now in the OHL, and what are your predictions for the upcoming week ahead? Love to see the interactions. Thanks again for all your support. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Talk to you again soon.